Some films are designed to be a puzzle box. The story unfolds, the credits roll, but instead of answers, you're left holding 1,000 scattered pieces. The horror genre is particularly good at this, crafting stories that don't just scare you with monsters, but terrify you with uncertainty. These are the films that burrow into your mind, sparking debates in comment sections and fueling video essays for decades. They're cinematic enigmas, deliberately ambiguous and, let's be honest, profoundly confusing. Forget simple jump scares. The deepest horror is the one you can't quite wrap your head around. It's that lingering question that keeps you up at night, long after the movie is over. What was real? What did it all mean? Today we're not just watching movies, we're opening case files. We're pulling the threads on the most baffling horror movie plots that continue to confuse fans, searching for clues, exploring the theories, and trying to find some sense of an answer in the beautiful, terrifying chaos. Our investigation begins at a place that's pretty much synonymous with cinematic madness, the Overlook Hotel. Stanley Kubrick's 1980 masterpiece, The Shining, is less a straightforward ghost story, and more a psychological labyrinth. On the surface, it's about a writer, Jack Torrance, who takes his family to an isolated hotel for the winter and slowly loses his mind. But underneath that is a dizzying abyss of questions. What is the deal with this hotel? Is it a haunted house, a gateway to hell, or just a manifestation of Jack's own crumbling sanity? The film is famous for its intentional vagueness and symbolic imagery, leaving huge plot points, like what the ghosts actually want and what the Shining even is, maddeningly open to interpretation. The confusion is the whole point. The film's power comes from this suffocating vibe of dread and uncertainty, making you feel just as unsettled as the characters. From the ghostly bartender Lloyd to the cryptic warnings from Delbert Grady, the hotel's previous caretaker, every interaction is laced with ambiguity. Why does Grady tell Jack, "You've always been the caretaker"? And then, of course, there's that final haunting shot, a slow zoom into a 1921 photograph of a 4th of July ball at the Overlook, with Jack Torrance smiling right in the middle of the crowd. This one picture has launched 1,000 theories, and it's where our investigation gets really interesting. There are two main schools of thought when it comes to the mysteries of The Shining, especially that final photograph. Theory A is the reincarnation theory. This idea suggests that Jack Torrance isn't just a new victim of the hotel, but a returning one. He's the reincarnation of a former guest or employee, maybe even the caretaker from that 1921 photo. This would explain Grady's line about Jack always being the caretaker. In a cyclical spiritual sense, he has been. People who back this theory point to how Jack seems weirdly familiar with the hotel, navigating its halls with an unnerving confidence. The hotel isn't just influencing him, it's reawakening a part of him that was already there, a dormant evil waiting for the perfect place to come out and play. Even Stanley Kubrick himself hinted at this. In an interview with film critic Michael Cement, Kubrick said the photograph suggests Jack is a reincarnation of a past figure at the hotel, but that explanation comes with its own confusing baggage. If he is a reincarnation, does he have any free will? Or is he just a puppet, doomed to repeat a violent history he doesn't even remember? The film definitely isn't giving us any easy answers. This brings us to Theory B, the soul-consuming hotel. This interpretation suggests that the Overlook is a malevolent entity that feeds on souls, especially those with a bit of the Shining. It doesn't just house ghosts, it creates them by absorbing its victims. In this view, the hotel actively goes after Jack, chipping away at his sanity and amplifying his anger and alcoholism until he becomes its violent instrument. His goal is to kill his family, adding their psychic energy to the hotel's collection. When Jack freezes to death in the hedge maze, the hotel claims its prize, his soul. The photograph then is its trophy case. Jack hasn't time traveled, he's been assimilated. He's now a permanent part of the hotel's ghostly collection, just like Grady and all the other spirits trapped in its walls. This theory gets a boost from how the film changes Stephen King's novel. In the book, the hotel is destroyed, ending its evil. In Kubrick's film, the Overlook Hotel is left standing, a chilling hint that the cycle of violence will just keep going. The hotel won, and the picture is the proof. Further complicating things is the mystery of the photograph itself. For decades, nobody knew where the original 1920s picture that Jack Nicholson was airbrushed into came from. It was eventually found in a 1985 book about photo retouching, but the original was dated 1923, not 1921, and the man Jack replaced was just some guy. This behind-the-scenes fact doesn't solve the story's mystery, but it adds another layer to the film's meticulous, almost obsessive construction. While Kubrick's own comment leans towards reincarnation, the film itself seems to more strongly support the idea of the hotel absorbing its victims. The visual language of the film, with its endless hallways and oppressive feeling of being trapped, really suggests the Overlook is a predator. Jack is consumed by it, and the photograph is his eternal prison. The true horror of The Shining is that Kubrick flat out refused to give a single definitive answer. The ambiguity is the monster. The film's very fabric is woven from this dread and vagueness, which is exactly why it remains one of the most debated and, honestly, terrifying films ever made. The case of the Overlook Hotel remains officially open, and maybe that's exactly how it should be. Next, we move from the claustrophobic halls of a haunted hotel to the vast, desolate emptiness of Antarctica. The setting for John Carpenter's 1982 paranoid masterpiece, The Thing. The premise is terrifyingly simple. A shape-shifting alien gets loose in an American research station, and it can perfectly assimilate and imitate any living thing. This setup creates a pressure cooker of paranoia, as the 12-man crew realizes that anyone, or anything among them, could be the monster. The film's plot is intentionally murky about who gets infected and when. The story uses distrust as a weapon, forcing the audience into the same state of frantic uncertainty as the characters. The genius of the film is that it refuses to give us more information than the characters have. We're just as lost, just as suspicious, and just as terrified. The central mystery isn't just about survival, it's about identity. How can you trust anyone, even yourself, when the enemy is wearing your friend's face? This all leads to one of the most famously ambiguous endings in movie history. After the outpost is blown to smithereens, only two survivors are left, the helicopter pilot MacReady and the mechanic Childs. They sit in the freezing ruins, the fire dying, sharing a bottle of whiskey, knowing full well that rescue isn't coming. Neither man knows if the other is human. The final line from MacReady is a chilling surrender to uncertainty. Why don't we just wait here for a while? See what happens. The film cuts to black, leaving audiences to argue about their fate for over 40 years. The debate over the ending boils down to one question. Is Childs MacReady both or neither of them the Thing? Over the years, fans have dissected every single frame of that final scene, coming up with some pretty compelling theories. Theory A: Childs is the Thing. This is probably the most popular theory. The evidence is circumstantial but persuasive. Childs vanishes during the chaotic climax and only reappears after the main creature is destroyed. His excuse, that he got lost in the storm chasing another character, is flimsy at best. Plus, many fans point to the fact that in the biting cold you can see MacReady's breath, but not Childs. This has long been seen as a key clue that Childs is no longer human, since the alien imitation might not perfectly replicate every biological function. Another piece of this theory involves the whiskey bottle. Some speculate that MacReady is testing Childs one last time, handing him a bottle not of whiskey but of gasoline from a Molotov cocktail. If Childs drinks it and doesn't react, he's not human. Theory B: MacReady is the Thing. While less common, this theory has its fans too. Some argue that MacReady could have been assimilated at several points, especially when he was isolated from the group. If MacReady is the Thing, destroying the base is a calculated move for self-preservation. He destroys the bigger, more obvious Blair Thing to get rid of the competition and waits for Childs, the last human, to freeze to death so he can hibernate in the ice and wait for a rescue team. His offer of a drink is just a final cruel taunt. Theory C: neither or both are the Thing. A third option is that both men are still human, just doomed to freeze to death in a state of mutual distrust. A tragic nihilistic end. Or they could both be things playing one last pointless game before they freeze and wait for the next unlucky rescue team. The ultimate irony would be that the paranoia the creature created has outlasted the creature itself, leading two human survivors to a pointless death. Director John Carpenter has always enjoyed the ambiguity. For years he said he didn't know who the thing was. A popular fan theory, the eye gleam theory, suggested that the cinematographer Dean Cundey used a subtle lighting trick where human characters had a gleam of light in their eyes. In the final scene, MacReady has the gleam but Childs doesn't. For a long time many fans took this as the answer. However, in 2023 Carpenter himself debunked this, stating that Cundey has no clue and that while he now knows who the thing is, he's not telling. The truth is, searching for a definitive answer kind of misses the point. The power of his ending is its profound uncertainty. It's a perfect capsule of the Cold War paranoia it came from. Two opposing forces unable to trust each other sit waiting for mutual destruction. Whether one of them is an alien is almost less important than the fact that their humanity has been destroyed by suspicion. The 2002 official video game sequel did give a canonical answer, saying Childs froze to death and was human, and MacReady also survived as a human. But for many fans, that just felt like a betrayal of the original's masterful ambiguity. Ultimately, the most faithful interpretation is the one Carpenter intended. We're not supposed to know. The horror isn't the monster, it's in not knowing who the monster is. The case is closed not with a solution, but with the chilling realization that some questions are scarier without an answer. Now we descend into a world that completely defies normal story logic. David Lynch's 1977 debut is not a film you watch for a clear plot, it's a film a surreal black-and-white nightmare. It follows a timid man named Henry Spencer as he navigates a desolate industrial landscape and the anxieties of an unwanted fatherhood. The film is baffling by design. Its plot is all over the place, its imagery is grotesque and bizarre, and its meaning is almost entirely up to you. We meet the man in the planet who pulls levers that seem to control reality, a lady in the radiator who sings about finding happiness in heaven, and most disturbingly Henry's child, a premature reptilian creature that cries constantly and is more alien than human. The main confusion isn't one specific plot point but the entire reality of the film. What do these surreal images mean? Is any of this actually happening, or is it all just a manifestation of Henry's terrified subconscious? Analyzing is less about solving a mystery and more about interpreting a poem written in the language of nightmares. The general consensus is that the film is a deeply personal exploration of fear, specifically the fear of parenthood. Theory A, the fear of fatherhood. This is the most widely accepted interpretation. David Lynch has said the film came from a period of great anxiety in his own life around the time his daughter was born. Can be read as a visceral, symbolic take on the terror and responsibility of bringing a child into the world. The industrial wasteland Henry lives in reflects a world that feels hostile and alienating. The grotesque baby isn't a literal creature but a manifestation of Henry's deepest anxieties about fatherhood, the fear of being trapped, the fear of the unknown, and the fear that his child is a monstrous burden he can't handle. In this reading, every bizarre element is a symbol. The constant industrial hum is the sound of an oppressive, inescapable reality. The worms could be symbols of sickness, decay, or even primal urges. The lady in the radiator represents an escape, a fantasy of peace that Henry longs for but can't reach. The film's climax, where Henry cuts the baby's bandages and stabs its internal organs, isn't an act of murder but a symbolic act of killing his own fear. By confronting the source of his terror, he's finally able to embrace the lady in the radiator, achieving a moment of peace. He destroys the fear and finds bliss. Theory B, a study in existential dread. Beyond Just Fatherhood can be seen more broadly as a film about existential dread and feeling totally alienated. Henry is a man completely disconnected from his environment. The awkward, nightmarish dinner with his girlfriend's parents captures the horror of social obligation. His bleak apartment is a prison of loneliness. The film shows a world where human connection has been replaced by mechanical processes and organic decay. The man in the planet pulling levers suggests a universe where Henry has no control. He's just a passive subject in a cosmic horror show. His head being turned into pencil erasers is the ultimate symbol of his dehumanization. He's just a disposable tool in an uncaring machine. His final act of killing the baby is a rebellion, a desperate attempt to assert his will in a world that has stripped him of all agency. Lynch himself, in his typical fashion, has refused to give a concrete explanation, preferring viewers to find their own meaning. He operates on dream logic, and dreams are intensely personal. The film is meant to be felt, rather than understood, to create a mood of profound unease that sticks with you. Unlike our other cases, there's no single verdict for Eraserhead. The film is a Rorschach test. Its meaning is found where Lynch's surreal vision meets the viewer's own anxieties. While the fear of fatherhood theory gives the most coherent framework, its real power is that it resists any one interpretation. It's a masterpiece of ambiguity. The confusion isn't a flaw, it's the whole point. Eraserhead teaches us that some of the most profound horror stories aren't about monsters in the closet, but about the indescribable anxieties lurking in our own minds. The case isn't solved because it was never a case to begin with. It was and is a dream. Our next file is on a film that became a cult classic precisely because it's so beautifully and bafflingly complex. Richard Kelly's 2001 film, Donnie Darko. The movie follows a troubled teenager, Donnie, who after a jet engine crashes into his bedroom and he somehow isn't there, starts having visions of a man in a monstrous rabbit suit named Frank. Frank tells Donnie the world will end in 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. What follows is a haunting, funny, and deeply sad journey that mixes high school drama with sci-fi, philosophy, and surreal horror. The central mystery of the film is, well, pretty much everything. What is Frank the Rabbit? Is Donnie schizophrenic, or is he some kind of prophet? And what does it all mean? The theatrical cut was famously ambiguous, leaving audiences to piece it all together. The later director's cut added scenes and pages from a fictional book, The Philosophy of Time Travel, which gives a much more explicit, though still challenging, explanation. To solve the puzzle of Donnie Darko, we have to look at the text that the director's cut put front and center, The Philosophy of Time Travel, written by the mysterious local woman, Roberta Sparrow. This fictional book lays out a complex cosmic event that drives the whole story. The core idea is the tangent universe. According to the book, time is usually stable, but on rare occasions the fabric of the fourth dimension can get corrupted, causing a highly unstable tangent universe to branch off from our primary universe. This tangent universe is a glitch, a temporary copy of reality that can only last a few weeks before it collapses into a black hole that will destroy the primary universe too. In the film, a tangent universe is created on October 2nd. The artifact that comes with it is the jet engine. The book's rules say this artifact has to be guided back to the primary universe to stop the catastrophe. This job falls to the living receiver, in this case, Donnie Darko. The living receiver is chosen to guide the artifact and is often given fourth-dimensional powers, like strength and telekinesis, which explains some of Donnie's strange abilities, like sinking an axe into the school's bronze statue. The living receiver isn't alone. They're helped by the manipulated. The manipulated living are all the people around Donnie, his family, friends, and teachers. They subconsciously guide Donnie on his path. The manipulated dead are those who die inside the tangent universe. They're even more powerful and can travel through time. This explains Frank. The Frank Donnie sees is the ghost of his sister's boyfriend, who hasn't died yet. He's a manipulated dead, sent back from the future of the tangent universe to guide Donnie toward his destiny. Donnie's mission, then, is to make sure the jet engine from the tangent universe gets sent through a time portal back into the primary universe right where it's supposed to crash into his own bedroom. This is the paradox. The film starts with an engine from a future that Donnie has to create. He has to flood the school to meet Gretchen, burn down Jim Cunningham's house to expose him as a pedophile, which leads his mother and sister to be on that specific plane, and he has to confront Frank, which leads to Gretchen's death, and Donnie shooting Frank in the eye, creating the very ghost that's been guiding him. At the end of the film, Donnie stands on a hill, having fulfilled his purpose. He uses his powers to rip the engine from the plane his mother and sister are on and sends it through the portal. Time rewinds 28 days. We're back in the primary universe. This time Donnie doesn't leave his bed. He laughs, lies back down, and the jet engine crashes into his room, killing him. His sacrifice closes the tangent universe and saves everyone. The final montage shows the other characters waking up, haunted by dreams of what happened in the other reality, suggesting they have a faint emotional memory of it all. Donnie Darko is the story of a reluctant savior on a hero's journey. Gretchen even points this out early on, saying, "Donnie Darko? What the hell kind of name is that? It's like some sort of superhero or something." The film is a closed time loop, a self-fulfilling prophecy where the end is the beginning. While the theatrical cut left room for interpretations that Donnie was simply mentally ill, the director's cut and the philosophy of time travel make it pretty clear that the supernatural events are real within the film's logic. The plot is undeniably complex, weaving together ideas of predestination, free will, and sacrifice. Donnie is a tragic hero, a boy forced to make an impossible choice to save a world that never really got him. The baffling nature of the plot is what gives the film its emotional power. It mirrors Donnie's own confusion and alienation. By solving the puzzle, we understand the profound sadness and beauty of his sacrifice. The case of Donnie Darko is closed, revealing one of the most intricately plotted and emotionally resonant stories in cult cinema. Our investigation now takes us into the fiercely competitive and psychologically brutal world of professional ballet, with Darren Aronofsky's 2010 masterpiece Black Swan. The film stars Natalie Portman as Nina Sayers, a technically perfect but emotionally repressed ballerina who lands the dual lead role of the innocent white swan and the sensual black swan in Swan Lake. The plot gets baffling as Nina's quest for perfection sends her spiraling into a full-blown psychotic breakdown. The lines between reality, hallucination, and performance blur until neither Nina nor the audience can tell what's real. Is her rival Lily actually trying to sabotage her, or is she a figment of Nina's paranoid imagination? Is Nina's body physically transforming, sprouting feathers and having her legs bend backward? Or are these just grotesque metaphors for her artistic transformation? The film's central mystery is the nature of Nina's reality. We're trapped inside her fracturing mind, experiencing her paranoia and body horror right along with her. The confusion is a direct result of Aronofsky using an unreliable narrator, forcing us to question every single scene. The film climaxes in a triumphant but horrifying performance where Nina seemingly kills Lily backstage, hides the body, and then delivers a flawless performance as the Black Swan, only to find out that Lily is alive and well. In her hallucination, Nina had actually stabbed herself. The film ends with a bleeding Nina finishing the ballet, collapsing and whispering, "I was perfect," as the screen fades to white. Did she die? Did she achieve perfection? What just happened? To understand Black Swan, we need to look at its core themes of duality and psychological breakdown, which Aronofsky shows us through powerful symbols. The central conflict is the clash between the white swan and the black swan. The white swan represents purity, innocence, and control, everything Nina has been taught to be by her overbearing mother. The black swan represents passion, sensuality, and abandon, everything she must become to be a true artist. The film is the story of this internal battle. Nina's struggle isn't just to dance two roles but to integrate two warring parts of herself. Aronofsky uses a few recurring visual tricks to symbolize this struggle. Mirrors are everywhere, constantly showing Nina's fractured self. Often her reflection moves on its own or reveals a darker version of herself, representing her repressed desires. The color palette is also key. The film starts with stark blacks and whites, but as Nina's mental state gets worse, shades of gray start to take over, symbolizing the blurred lines between reality and delusion. This leads to the doppelganger theory. Many see Lily not as a real rival, but as a projection of Nina's repressed black swan side. Lily is confident, sexually liberated, and rebellious, everything Nina isn't. There are clues that suggest Lily might not always be physically there. For instance, when Nina brings Lily home, her mother never seems to acknowledge Lily's presence, leading some to believe she was a hallucination all along. In this reading, Nina's violent fight with Lily backstage is actually self-harm, a physical manifestation of her psychological battle. she has to metaphorically kill her innocent white swan self to fully become the Black Swan. The film's ending directly mirrors the plot of the Swan Lake Ballet, where the Swan Queen dies. Nina's obsession with her role is so complete that she doesn't just play the part, she lives it. Her final line, "I was perfect," is both a triumph and a tragedy. She has achieved the artistic perfection she craved, but it cost her her sanity and, most likely, her life. The fade to white is deliberately ambiguous. It could symbolize her death, or it could represent her finally fusing with the character, forever trapped in her role. Black Swan is a harrowing psychological horror film about the destructive nature of artistic perfection. Nina's journey isn't about fighting a monster, it's about becoming one. The plot is confusing because psychosis is confusing. By putting us directly into Nina's subjective experience, Aronofsky makes her psychological horror our own. The final verdict is that Nina almost certainly dies at the end. The cast and crew rush to her side, calling for help as she bleeds out. Her acceptance of her fate is the final step in her transformation. She has sacrificed everything for her art. The baffling, surreal events leading up to this moment were the visible symptoms of a mind tearing itself apart under unimaginable pressure. The case is a tragic one, a portrait of an artist consumed by her own ambition, where the line between performance and reality completely disappeared. From the haunted hallways of the Overlook to the paranoid wastes of Antarctica, from the industrial anxieties of a surreal nightmare to the deadly chase for perfection, these films prove that the most enduring horror is the kind that leaves us questioning everything. They aren't just stories, they're puzzles designed to stick with you. They reject easy answers and, by doing so, force us to confront our own fears of the unknown, the unknowable, and the uncertain. The beauty of these baffling plots is that the debate is the whole point. There might not be one single right answer, and the theories we come up with say as much about us as they do about the films themselves. They invite us to become detectives, to look for clues and to find our own meaning in the madness. But these are just our case files. What baffling horror movie plots do you think we missed? Are there any theories about these films that we didn't cover? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one, and your theories could open up a whole new investigation. And if you enjoyed cracking these cases with us, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more deep dives into the darkest corners of cinema. Thanks for watching. And try to get some sleep tonight.